is your relationship with time? Are you wired and tired, stressed and overwhelmed, busy and going nowhere? Or just want to scale your business? Welcome to Take Back Time with your host, Penny Zenker. Penny focuses on books, strategies, tools, and tips to help you work smarter and approach your time more strategically. As a result, you can have more energy, focus, and get more done in less time. Be more efficient and effective. Get ready to take back time.
Hello, and welcome to Take Back Time. My name is Penny Zenker, and I'm your host. Now, on this show, we do what it says. We help you to take back time. Now, literally, we can't do that. However, we can help you to compress time by talking to some very smart people who look at the world in a way that helps you to do things smarter so that you can have more time to do in other areas of your life. So whether it's spending time with people that you love, whether it's doing things that is your passion area, and most of all, it's reaching your goals faster. So today I'm super excited to have Randy Peyser with us. She is a master of the pitch. Now, you're going to find out why that's important and how that can relate to taking back time. She knows all the letters from A to Z and uses them in varying combinations to create words that bring your brilliance out. She writes marketing materials, speaker sheets, press releases, articles, and performs copywriting resuscitation services. That means that your copywriting is probably not cutting the mustard. And she brings it to light to really old, worn out text and gives it, new power. And additionally, Randy is the CEO of Author One Stop Inc. Her company edits and ghostwrites books, and she pitches manuscripts to publishers. Her clients have done cartwheels, I'd like to see that, over six-figure book deals, and her authors' books have been featured in Time and Oprah Magazine, airport bookstores, big box stores, five-star luxury hotels, and on Hallmark TV and Daily Mail TV. Many have won national awards, and some are even under consideration for Hollywood film. Well, we want some of that. So Randy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Penny. I'd love to start out by addressing the concept of time. And I had an epiphany. It was the first big epiphany of my life. And it happened when I was 7 years old. And I was watching the minute hand of a clock. This is way before digital, back in the olden days when dinosaurs still roamed the earth. And there I am watching that minute hand go around the clock. And I realized this minute will never come again. And I watched the next minute and I said, this minute will never come again. And I realized how precious our time is. So that was a very, very strong epiphany.
It's so true. How old were you when you had that epiphany?
7. I was 7.
Wow. So tell me, because it's really, I think that many people don't have that epiphany until, unfortunately, something dramatic happens in their life for them to realize how important time is and how precious it is to use. How do you think that impacted your life by having that epiphany?
Just realizing the value of every single day. I'm here to talk about how to pitch like a 5-year-old. And the reason is that I see people wasting time. So many entrepreneurs or people with projects, with great ideas, with services, with products, and they're going to all these networking events and they're not coming home with a sale. And I realize, they're spinning their wheels. They're working so hard with the best of intentions to help people do something better or have something better, improve their quality of life. But they're really not maximizing their time by using the right language to bring in the sale.
Right. Intention doesn't make the sale, right? So we've got to have much more than just the desire and the intention to make that sale.
Yes. And so, my main business is, I get people book deals with the top New York agents and publishers. But I was actually teaching for a national organization, and I was at their conference. And what inspired me to share this talk about how to pitch like a 5-year-old is that I was sitting at a dinner table. Now you have to imagine there's 250 adults at this conference, and there's one 5-year-old whose mother, who's also on faculty, brings him to this event. And this little 5-year-old came up to my dinner table and he said, "My business is I draw pictures that you could put on your refrigerator with magnets. Give me a 10, a 20, or 100. And he stood there, did not move. And so, you don't want to disappoint a 5-year-old, but hey, the stakes are high here. So I asked him.
100, right.
Right. So I asked, what can I get for $1? And he went like this, nothing. And he walked away to another table, big smile on his face. Within 3 days, this 5-year-old had $400 in his pocket.
He's a smart boy.
Yeah. So, I started to unpack this. And so one of the things I say is, his offer was crystal clear, his offer. And we could all visually see it in our heads. He draws pictures. We see them on the refrigerator with magnets. We see a little kid's drawing. Was he comparing himself to any other 5-year-old's drawings? No, he was working within his skill set and he was offering it. Now, was there any ambiguity in his ask? No. Give me a 10, a 20, or 100. He was very, very, very crystal clear again.
And bold in his ask, right?
Very bold in his ask. And so when I asked him, what can I get for $1? Was he willing to compromise his value? No, absolutely not. Now, this is one of the things that I love to say, this question. When he didn't get what he asked for, did he give up on his dream? Did he feel rejected, or did he have a pity party? No. What did he do? Big smile on the face, walk to the next table, end result, $400 in the hands of a 5-year-old.
Right.
So
next.
What can we learn from this? And so one of the things I realized is that we have to be very, very visual in our pitch. And we also have to be comfortable asking. And so I've started an asking process. And this may sound deceptively simple, but it really has impacted me. And what I'm doing is, this is a 3-part deceptively simple exercise. The first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is I'm going to go for a walk. And I want to go for this walk because I know if I don't do it first thing in the morning, it's just not going to happen. And I know I need to get some exercise. So that's
I hear you.
Okay. So I just started doing this and realized I'm actually doing a practice of asking. So the 3 rules are walk, smile, wave. So in my neighborhood, as I'm walking, a car goes by. I smile and I wave. And it's very interesting what this brings up, because as 5-year-olds, this is a game we probably played as, you're driving and somebody's driving you in the backseat of the car. Let's see how many waves we can get from the people driving behind us.
Yeah.
But as an adult, the rules have changed. And so when I'm walking and I wave, and I notice, am I more comfortable waving to somebody like a mom with a car full of kids in an SUV, and maybe they're on their way to school? Do I feel safe waving to a painting contractor in his truck, somebody in a beater car? Where am I making judgments about asking for the wave? And then I took
really
it further.
Powerful. I just want to stop you for a minute. It is really simple and it's really powerful. I think sometimes I say this in some of my talks sometimes I need to hear things so simply put, because it breaks through all the noise, right? Because there's so much noise and that creates such a really fast, quick awareness, is to watch when we ask where our judgments are and do it in an area that's really simple and easy. I love that.
Yes. And then, taking it a step further, I realized I was concerned about whether people would wave back or not. And that's, again, it reflects our ability to hear no or feel rejected when somebody doesn't take our offer, take us up on our offer.
For sure.
So, as I did this 3 days in a row, another thing I challenged myself, let's say there's a row of cards. Will I feel silly if if I'm waving to one, then to the next, then to the next? And it really brought up all these different kinds of feelings. Like, It's okay to ask a number of people in a row. And what I saw happen with me, this is something I observed. It was like this inner awareness. By the 3rd day of doing this, I could wave to anybody comfortably. And I wasn't attached to whether they waved back or not. And I realized on part of the walk in my neighborhood, I was facing into the sun, so I couldn't even see their response. And it didn't even matter by that point. So this deceptively simple little exercise that a 5-year-old has no trouble doing, it's really, really important in developing that ability to ask.
Distractions are the enemy of productivity. Go to distractionquiz.com and find out your distraction profile. Are you a time zombie or a hamster? Take this free distraction quiz today to rate your ability to focus on what keeps you from being a wizard. Go to distractionquiz.com.
You know what I love about what you just said? I have two things to say about that. First of all is it's important to ask and be detached from the outcome, right? Like you said, the more that you asked, the less attached that you were to the outcome and the less judgment that you put on it. You were, a little bit detached, that you were comfortable in asking, but not,
Yes.
Whatever the outcome was the outcome. You were still going to ask. And
Yes.
I think you were also recognizing the value in the wave is to the response that you got from some people in terms of the smile right. And that also can boost people's feeling is knowing that it adds value.
Yes. And, there are a few subconscious blocks that I've discovered that are really, people are not really aware of when they're going for their dreams. And it's something that, one of the things I identify is something that I call the devastating no. And the devastating no is something that typically happened to us in childhood. So you've got to, bring your mind all the way back to childhood and
Right.
think about a time that you really, really wanted something. You wanted to be it, do it, or have it. Be it, do it, or have it. And you asked the responsible party in charge of you, and they said no. And it just squashed you. So for me, when I was 6 years old, my example is my parents asked me, would you like to play an instrument? And I said yes. And they said what? And I said drums. And they said, here's a clarinet. So in my, I was devastated. In my 20s, I got my first little drum. And now I say I have 17 drums. And for some reason, my neighbors still like me. And so I was delivering this talk on how to pitch like a 5-year-old. And this woman came up to me afterwards and she said, her devastating no was, she wanted to be a stewardess. Now, this is back in the days when flight attendants were called stewardesses.
Right.
This was her big dream. But then she was told, no, you can't be a flight attendant or a stewardess because you're too short. So there was a height restriction. But she said she overcame her devastating no because she asked, are there any height restrictions on being a pilot? And when she heard no, she said, I went and took flying lessons.
Awesome.
So, if you think back in your childhood, if you had heard that devastating no, that stifled your ability to be, do, or have, can you still correct it now? Because it matters.
Absolutely. I'm just thinking, what was my devastating no? So it might not be as devastating as, that it really crushed me, but I really wanted to be an FBI agent. And so I remember this in the beginning of college, and my mom was, no, like there is no way you're carrying a gun. And
Right.
I think the reason that I went into accounting was because maybe I could do forensic accounting, right? And be like, in the FBI in that context. Maybe I was a little caught up on TV shows and things like that with the whole action. But, it is interesting. And it's interesting what we do with the no. Right? Is there's two different ways that one can, depending on what you do in the pause after the no, right? Do you take what meaning do you give it? Is it okay, well, I'm going to find a way anyway to find my dream, and that can fuel your passion, or it can fuel you to say, like that woman, where's the, I could be a pilot and come up with other things that meet your, so it's interesting to see where someone goes with that and what meaning they gave it in that moment. And like you said, maybe there's a way to step back and reevaluate it as to how you got to where you are today and what's next.
Yes. And I was talking with a man yesterday. He's a screenwriter who I refer screenwriting clients to. He's very, very good at what he does. And he was talking about how he was just given this compliment where these people, this husband and wife who we've been working with, and they said, you're a genius, you're brilliant. And he said, whoa, I'm just the writer. But then he was really shocked when they didn't buy his biggest package and really go for the whole deal. And what I told him was, you stifled the ability to receive, even a little bit. And that cut off the receiving from more money.
Yeah.
So if you want to have more income coming in, you need to be a grateful receiver. And that means when somebody gives you a compliment about anything, like, oh, that's a beautiful dress. Well, I got it for such and such and this price. No, don't go there.
Right.
You want to say,
your hair looks great. No, I didn't wash it for days, or, whatever.
Right. Just be a grateful receiver. So these are all like subconscious ways to actually increase your income.
That's interesting. I never thought of it like that. I mean, I went through my own process of being able to receive, and first, rejecting it and resisting it. And, a way that I kind of twisted it, or it was presented to me in such a way that actually receiving is also giving, because you're allowing someone else to give, and that is giving, right? Because people need to be able to give. And if you're not receiving it, you're actually squashing someone else's ability to give.
Yes, that's absolutely true. I want to speak about a couple more things. One is about a lot of people are actually uncomfortable at networking events. So I ask people, on a scale of 1 to 10, judge your own comfortability. When I'm actually, teaching this in a room, I'll have people get up and use the room as the spectrum to see where are you in your comfort level about getting up and speaking in front of a room, or at a networking event, going up to people. What if they're already talking and you're like the isolated person? And so I have my one top tip that has helped so many people.
Let's hear it.
Networking events. And it's also, again, 5-year-old fun. So pretend you're a golden retriever. Hi there. I'm your new best friend. Got a stick? Got a ball? Got to play? Keep the image in your mind of the playful golden retriever. This helps a man who's like about 6'5", a big man. I interact with publishers all this time. And this publisher, and he was from England. He said, Randy, I don't know how you do it. Like, what? And he said, you can just go up to people and talk. Pretend you're a golden retriever. I gave him that advice. And all of a sudden, he was more comfortable. Another thing to do, or actually to say at a networking event when you go up to a stranger, is, hi, what is it you do? That simple. I often haven't told people my name, anything that I'm about. I haven't even asked them for their name, because what happens when you start meeting people immediately? You don't remember their name.
Right. That's a good point.
You have to keep looking at their name tag. And so by asking them, what is it that you do? Then you get to position what you're going to say afterwards based on what they just told you and how you could potentially help them if you can. Absolutely.
You can make sure it's relevant to the audience that you're speaking to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those are great tips. I mean, I think it's really important. You mentioned in one of your things, some people might say that's chutzpah, right? I see in your thing that you say how to perform random acts of chutzpah. So tell the audience what chutzpah is and why they need to have it.
So chutzpah is a Jewish term, and it means like having guts and or extreme nerve. My random act of chutzpah was years ago. I was in pursuit of my dream, which this is back in the 90s, way back. And my dream was to be a published author with an author career, not just like a one-off kind of book. And I had written a book called Crappy to Happy. And I couldn't find a publisher for it. I'm going to New York to the big feeding frenzy for the publishing industry every year, the big Book Expo America event. And I'm hearing, we love your writing, but there was always a but. And so I stood on a street corner in Mill Valley, California at rush hour on a Wednesday, right off the 101 freeway, wearing a dress, high heels, and at that time, my naturally curly perm. And I held a giant cardboard sign that read, Author Seeks Publisher. And guess what happened? That night, a publisher called me, and it turned out he was a publisher of a national magazine, and I wound up becoming editor-in-chief of his magazine.
Wow.
So be careful what you ask for, because you just might get it. My sign did not read Author Seeks Publisher for her book, so be specific.
Oh, right. You got to be specific in the universe.
Except having, being editor-in-chief of a national magazine certainly improved my credibility in the publishing world. And eventually, I did get my dream.
Absolutely. Well, that's awesome. And I do think it's important that we get outside of our comfort zone and we ask. We go and we pursue what we want and ask for it. I want to ask you one more question, and then I want everybody to know where they can go to find information about you. So, when you've got that pitch like a 5-year-old, right? Let's go back to that initial story. How important is it? Because if we're talking about taking back time and being more efficient and effective with your time, I mean, how important is it to be able to close somebody faster based on having a clear offer?
Let's go back to the pitch itself. I've written a couple of examples about like health coaches and financial advisors. You go to any networking group, you're going to meet a life coach, a health coach, or a financial advisor, as well as realtors, people who are in very common kinds of industries, and they basically all say the same thing. Like a health coach will say, typically, I'll bring you to a greater level of health or the level of health you wish to achieve. A financial advisor is going to tell you about, their kids, how you're going to save them money for college or retirement. Mm-hmm. Truthfully, what visuals are people creating in somebody's mind? And how specific is the ask? So, for example, with a health coach, I wrote out a couple of different ways that, like a health coach or a life coach can improve their pitch. And one is, I'm a health coach. I specialize in helping people lose weight. And then I took it a little bit further and said, okay, lose weight. That's one we've all heard. But what if it was even more specific? And somebody said, I'm a health coach. I specialize in helping people lose belly fat. Oh, very clear market.
Right.
How many women in their 50s, 60s, and whatever age are dealing with belly fat? Huge audience, specific and targeted. Visual. We can take that kind of example, though, and take it one step further. I have a housemate, one of my housemates, male housemate, and he refers to his stomach as his babaloo. And so what if you were, I'm a health coach who helps people lose their big fat babaloo, their belly fat. So now in a person's mind, you're not just a health coach helping somebody with belly fat, because maybe there's other health coaches who do that, but now you're the babaloo gal, and people remember it because it's such a fun phrase and nobody uses it.
Right. So, absolutely. That's really, really valuable, right? Yes. It creates that intrigue and makes you want to know more, right? And like you said, it's unique and it can be very attractive the more specific somebody is.
Yes. So you're using verbs, action verbs like I specialize in. People love specialists more than generalists.
Right.
You specialize in something, whatever it is, and even if you have a smorgasbord of offerings.
Yeah.
Test them out on different audiences and see where you're getting your biggest response.
Right. Well, and specialized doesn't mean you don't do other things. It means that's an area where you focus. So, they can also, usually people hire you for one thing, and then when they like you, they, expand into the other areas that you can offer. So that makes sense.
Yes. And, another thing you can do is you can push an emotional button in somebody. I'm a health coach. I specialize in helping people deal with stress. Okay, there's no button really there. That's the typical thing you might hear. I deal with stress and anxiety. I help people overcome stress and anxiety. Right. But what if you called it, I'm a health coach and I specialize in helping people deal with high stress. And you emphasize high stress. You put a pause right before any powerful word that you want to emphasize, put a very slight, minimal, almost can't hear it pause. I help people deal with high stress. So we've emphasized high stress. Right. You can even put a hand action with it, high stress. So now they're getting a visual when you're speaking it, they're getting the auditory, a very strong cue, a pause beforehand. All these things are going to help you to ultimately close that sale.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So to wrap up today, I appreciate there were lots of great nuggets here for people to tighten their pitch, their offer, their ask, and now they need to know, where can they get a hold of you?
Well, the easiest place to get a hold of me is at www.authoronestop.com. The one is spelled out, O-N-E, authoronestop.com.
Perfect. Well, Randy, thank you so much for being here. This was really fun, like a retriever. It was fun. It was really informative. And I know that everybody took away a nugget of how they can improve their pitch so they can pitch like a 5-year-old. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Penny.
And thank you, everyone, for being here. As always, I appreciate you, and delivering high value is really important to me so that you can take back time. My name is Penny Zanker, and you're listening to Take Back Time. We'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you for listening. Today's topic is another opportunity for you to put the knowledge you learned into practice. Tune in again next week for more strategies that will help you have more energy and focus to get more done in less time. so you can continue to take back time.